guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Double Countout. Now, as you've already seen, Jordan has been doing a lot for the WWE over the past week, so I thought, let's change up a little bit. Why not do a little bit of TNA? Seeing as TNA and WWE now have a running relationship together, you'll see me now every week doing a little bit of TNA, going through the matches, the match card, everything that you're going to see, pay-per-views, the lot. I know there's still a WWE Championship there, but unfortunately, no TNA titles around here. But we had a nice little replay of what happened last week in TNA, which obviously I didn't review. We're doing that now. We're starting today. So you're coming on a nice journey. Hope you're all ready to go. But the first match was Elijah, formerly known as Elias in WWE. He's having his first singles match, which was quite exciting to see actually, because I've actually really missed seeing Elijah anyway. We all like to walk with Elijah, and I think the TNA crowd really wanted to as well. And the first match was Elijah versus Brian Myers, who people might know as Kurt Hawkins from WWE. Part of the Edgeheads, part with Zack Ryder. You know the team. He is a member of the System, along with Moose and JDC, amongst others. This was a pretty good match to start the night off. Elijah still came out with his guitar. That was awesome to see. We always like him with the guitar. Too bad we didn't get a little bit of a concert, because I would have absolutely loved that. It was a good match to start the night. The fans, were into it. There was a little bit of foreplay and everything in there. Foreplay wasn't foreplay. It's foreshadowing. That's the word I'm looking for. For events that were to come later on in the night. But Eddie Edwards, another member of the System, managed to get involved and cause a little bit of a distraction to try and cost Elijah the match. Didn't go down so well though. It ended up costing his teammate. Instead, it cost Myers the match. Elijah ended up hitting a rather nice looking move. What did he call it? The Highwayman's Farewell. Should have wrote that down in the notes, but I didn't. And that was an absolute beauty of a move, which I've not seen him use before, so I'm guessing is something new. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this was a really good match. But afterwards as well then, see, I did write this in my notes, this one I did. Edwards did try to jump Elijah after the match, which he did successfully, but Joe Hendry makes the save, Terrible. But Joe Hendry makes the save because Elijah's going to be part of his team in the Sacrifice 10-man tag team match next week. Next, we have an interview backstage with Ace Austin and with the Rascals, where they're talking about their match that's going to happen at Sacrifice as well, with Wesley, Tyreek and Tyrone in a 6-man tag. But tonight, they've got to face the Northern Armory. Now, the Rascals and Ace Austin talk about themselves never being on the same page before, so they need to get on the same page tonight to make sure that they manage to walk away with the win and get some continuity to go into their match at Sacrifice. Then we've got the First Class Penthouse. Now, this is a stable made up of Casey Nazzaro and AJ Francis, formerly Top Dollar in WWE. I've never been a massive fan of Top Dollar, AJ Francis now. I was never a big fan of Hit Row when they were in WWE or NXT. It was never something that interested me. But they've changed them to AJ Francis, and they've got some sort of big money sort of thing. Playing on the whole Top Dollar thing, I'm guessing. But I was quite intrigued here because I know that WWE and TNA both have a working relationship going, but I wasn't expecting the little hype that AJ Francis was throwing, because this Penthouse thing is supposed to be some sort of interview show, and they did one episode beforehand, and this is now the second, but they were hyping up as a former world champion. He's a prize fighter, and then they said that this is KO. See where this is going. Ends up not being the person we think it's going to be. I think it's Kevin Owens. I thought there's no way they actually pulled a WWE guy in when it's normally the working relationship is NXT. But no, they didn't pull Kevin Owens. AJ Francis pulls it aside and he goes, it's KO. No, it's Casey Navarro, his tag team partner. And they don't even get to have an interview. They just sort of, have a little laugh on the stage. And Casey then says that his back is still hurting from his match with Steve Macklin the week before. Who then shows up on the stage is Steve Macklin. And Macklin says that he'd happily wipe the floor once again with Navarro, but says that he's actually out there now to face AJ Francis. And he throws down the gauntlet, and AJ Francis says that he accepts, tells him to get ready in about 30 minutes, and they'll have a match. Took a bit longer than 30 minutes, but the match was then made official. Next match then that we had was Savannah Evans versus Xia Brookside. And the little bit of story that I was given from listening to the guys on commentary was that Xia Brookside was this close to winning the Battle Royal to get a Knockouts World Championship match, but ended up being eliminated by Savannah Evans. Now, Savannah was twice the size of Xia Brookside, and I've been a big fan of Xia since I've watched her matches in NXT UK, which is now a long distant memory. I'm still bitter. But this was actually a good match, with Xia trying to show off her strength, where she didn't get an awful lot to show. She trying to pick up Savannah, didn't get an awful lot in the way in that, because Xia Brookside is like that, and Savannah was, way bigger than she was. But Savannah was throwing her around. Xia was also doing a few high flying moves. There was a lot here that I really enjoyed. So the match ends with Xia looking like she's probably injured Savannah, but instead of taking the opportunity to go for a victory, she ends up turning to the referee, and the referee's like, don't look at me. And Savannah ends up giving a massive clubbing blow to the back of Brookside's head, and then just picking up a nice easy pinfall victory. Xia should have obviously known that you need to take these opportunities when they come, especially against bigger opponents when you're a smaller one. She didn't, and the match went in the way of Savannah Evans. Then last week we had Spitfire defeating the Elegance brand, and the losers of the match had to be the winners of the match's concierges for 24 hours. Now, seeing as Spitfire won, that meant the Elegance brand had to be the concierges for Spitfire. And we got a little view of what happened in that 24 hours, and it showed Spitfire waking the Elegance brand up very early, brightening them up. You see them with face masks on and everything, and then they basically give the Elegance brand a makeover and make them look like punk skaters sort of thing, with like dyed hair, spiked up in the middle, gothic eyeliner sort of stuff. So stuff that the Elegance brand wouldn't normally have done. And to rub a little bit more of an insult to the girls, the Elegance brand both said that they were starving and they really needed some food. So Spitfire came along and said, yep, we got you covered, and handed them bags of basically shredded bits of chicken. And the Elegance brand were very happy with that and said, that's basically stuff that you feed your dog. Didn't look too bad in the close-up. It looked like just genuine, just shredded chicken, I guess. I have eaten it, but I'm fat. Next up, we have John Skyler come into the ring, and he says that Mustafa Ali has allowed him to take on Mike Santana and deal with him personally. There's been this little storyline for a while now, from the vignettes that I've been watching, that have Mustafa Ali has been basically playing against Mike Santana for being a former alcoholic. Basically, the old stuff like with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus in WWE, it's that sort of a storyline. But John Skyler was accompanied, that's the word we're going for, by Josh Hodges. Santana was in the ring on his own, and this was actually a pretty fun match as well. I'm really liking the stuff that I've seen from Mike Santana. He's good in the ring. What I've seen of him on the mic as well, he can talk. But yeah, this is a storyline that I'm not all together for because of the whole alcoholics thing, because it's just I don't know, I thought it was a bit shifty when WWE did it, and I think it's a bit crud now that TNA are doing it as well. And I just think it's just rehashing. Like, I know there's no such thing as like originality anymore. Everything's been done at least once. But if you're gonna do this, there's gotta be, you know, another way to go about it, and you'll see what I mean. Santana ends up defeating Skylar, and he, you know, is celebrating, but then Josh Hodges tries to attack Santana with the ring bell hammer. Doesn't work, and Mike Santana ends up taking the hammer off of him, goes to attack him as well, but then Mustafa Ali appears on the screen. You know, I was going to say Titantron, but it's not Titantron. He appears on the screen and says that he's gone all the way up to the top of the Anthem Corporation, and he thinks that it's in the best for a safe workplace environment if people are getting randomly drug tested. And unfortunately for Santana, you can see where this is going, he's been picked randomly for a urine test, which he is then given a bottle and basically told, you know, do your business. Next we have the match then, which is Steve Macklin versus AJ Francis, being accompanied by Casey Navarro. Now, like I said earlier, never been a massive fan of AJ Francis, just never could get behind him. I gotta be honest though, one of his moves in this, his finisher, does look pretty devastating because of the size of him and how tall he is. It did look really good, and Macklin, I'm quite invested in what he's going to be doing. He looks the part. I quite like his entrance theme. He's got a good look. I thought that he could possibly do something, you know, that I can follow going on from here. But yeah, so we had Steve Macklin versus AJ Francis, and something that I didn't know already, Northern Armory have apparently tried to get Macklin to join them. Northern Armory interfered in this match with Eric Young as well coming down the ramp, basically just trying to... Basically they said have Macklin's back, and they did jump up, they did distract AJ Francis, but Macklin got out of the ring and he was in Eric Young's face. And he was saying that he doesn't want him to have his back, he wants him to leave. And Eric Young was saying that he's gonna have his back because that's what's best for him. But Macklin ends up getting back into the ring, gets distracted by Casey Navarro, turns around into the finisher that I was on about, this massive choke slam that he reached like the high heavens. He lifted him all the way up and slammed Macklin right into the ground. And it did look quite devastating. It's the only move that he had, I think, that looked devastating. Everything else just looked sort of off par. I'm not sure, it just didn't look good. But Macklin ended up losing this match, essentially because of the distraction that the Northern Armory had caused. We go backstage now to Team Joe Hendry to, Ryan Nemeth, the younger brother of Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. He comes in and is all excited because Nick Nemeth has already told him that he's going to be on the team with the other guys to go into the 10-man tag team match at Sacrifice. But Matt Hardy tells him that he's not, and that they're going with Leon Slater. But Ryan tells Nick that he needs to ask Nick. Well, Ryan tells Matt that he needs to ask Nick. So Matt FaceTimes even Nick Nemeth, and Nick is saying that, you know, it's going to be really good that Ryan's on the team, but Matt ends up shutting him down and saying that no, Nick is on the team, Ryan is not, and then goes ahead and tells him then that they're going with Leon Slater, but nobody likes Ryan Nemeth. The camera pans out and Ryan is practically crying, and he says that he hates the guys and leaves. We go backstage and we find Steve Macklin, and he looks like he wants to attack Northern Armory, but Eric Young ends up telling him that he knows what he wants better than Macklin does, and he knows what's best for him. Macklin says that he trusts Eric Young, but he doesn't trust what's going on with the Northern Armory. So he's obviously at odds. And then as Macklin is leaving, he bumps into Frankie Kazarian. And Frankie says that he's basically just having a whale of a time watching Macklin sort of implode, and he's really enjoying the show. Next up then, we get Moose and Femi facing off before their match at NXT Roadblock next Tuesday for the NXT Championship. Oba comes out first. Moose then comes out surrounded by the system. He does a little signal and security guards get into the ring. The securities do a nice little split across the ring, cutting it into essentially two triangles, with Oba on one side, Moose on the other, along with the system. Oba says that he'd heard rumblings of this man called Moose that had run TNA for a decade. Said that it'd be a match that he was really looking forward to having when they had the opportunity, but nothing ever came of it. So Oba is wondering why Moose is attacking now. Why has he chose now to go for this dream match, to go for the NXT Championship? So Moose says that Oba's right. He has been the face of TNA for over 10 years. He's been the TNA champion. He's been the TNA X Division champion, which he currently is. And he says that he's been the face of TNA, but now he's going to be the face of NXT. He says then that he then goes to the mic, goes back to Oba, and Oba says that if he's such a big man, why don't we just get rid of all the security guards and get rid of the system? Why don't we just have this scrap now instead of waiting for Roadblock? But Moose obviously already knows that this was coming, and he says he passes the mic to JDC, and JDC tells all of the security guards to face Oba Femi. So they do, and JDC says that the first person in the security team to successfully jump Oba Femi will become an official member of the system. All of the security guards start their lips are going, they're looking very, basically like the hyenas you saw in The Lion King, like that. They all jump Oba Femi into the corner all at once, but Oba Femi does that whole sort of thing, that most heavyweights to do, to back everybody off at once, and knocks all of the security guards down. Then he takes them all out one by one by one by one. But as soon as all the security guards are out, the system then join in, and they start attacking Oba as well, so Oba's on his own. But Oba manages to get a little bit of a breather when Moose goes to attack him, but accidentally hits JDC. Moose is a little bit stunned, goes to the side, looking at his fallen comrade. Oba takes out the rest of the system before turning right round into what looked like a pretty lovely spear from Moose, as Moose then picks up both championships, holds them both in the air, and that's basically how we're going to look going into Roadblock next week. The camera then goes backstage, and we've got Nathan Frazier and Axiom, the NXT Tag Team Champions, saying that basically if the Hardys weren't willing to pass the torch over to them, then they were going to take the torch and the TNA Tag Team Championships. They both think that they are the best tag team in the world, and the Hardys say that they're the best tag team in history. So it is going to come to a head when these two teams do finally meet, which is upcoming, I think, is at Roadblock for the TNA Tag Team Championships. Next is a 6-man tag team match. It's the Northern Armory versus the Rascals and Ace Austin. Now, I don't know an awful lot about the Northern Armory. I know Eric Young from when I used to watch him in TNA when I was a kid, and what he was like with NXT, but the group itself, I can't say I know an awful lot about. But I know Ace Austin, and I know the Rascals, and I've never seen a bad Rascals match. These guys just absolutely fly around the ring as if, there's no sort of wind resistance. They just go at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they just don't stop. And that's the sort of fast-paced action that I like to see. But they don't just, do the, flippy stuff for nothing. Everything is seamless. It's got a little story behind everything that they do as well, and that's what I like to see. The cohesion as well between the Rascals and Ace Austin was quite clear. These guys do make a good team, so that is looking good for them going into Sacrifice. Although it didn't go the way of the Rascals and Ace Austin, unfortunately. Eric Young ended up picking up a victory after Wesley, Tyrone and Tyreek interfered and took the all the limelight, took all the attention, and basically sent a little message before they go into their 6-man tag team match with Ace Austin and with the Rascals. Next we had the backstage segment of Mike Santana going over to see Santino Marella and saying that basically, you know, this whole thing about him having to do a urine test is absolutely pathetic, and Santino agreed. But he said, look, you know, Mustafa went over Santino's head and went straight to the bigwigs at Anthem. He said, look, just do it, pass the test, get your negative result, prove everybody wrong, and just move on with your life. But we can then see in the background that I'm guessing it's a barista. He's having a right grilling for making Mustafa Ali's coffee wrong, given the ingredients as well to like the smallest increment of milk. So after it sort of separates and the barista comes towards the camera, Santana tells him that, you know, don't let anybody ever speak to you like that again. But he says, look, I'm going to do you solid. Give me the cup. I know the order. I'll go make it myself. The guy, you know, is like really grateful and passes by. Santana is holding the cup and is standing right next to a toilet. We all know where this is going. Next, we're back to the Spitfire and the Elegance brand, you know, the final part of their day. And basically, Spitfire say that they just want the Elegance brand to get into shape. They want them to be, you know, more like them, I'm guessing. And they take them to jiu-jitsu, a boxing ring, and to just a normal gym. And they basically use them as tackling dummies in each and every one of these segments. And then as they leave in the gym, the Elegance brand say that they can't take it no more, and a cleaner walks by and decides to hit Jody Threat. And Danny Luna is, you know, like really confused, and she says, that's my friend. And then the Elegance brand both attack both members of Spitfire. The cleaner ends up being the concierge, which is the concierge of the Elegance brand. And they all escape together, so we're going to see where that goes. Next, we have the TNA Knockouts World Champion, Masha Slamovich. She's in the ring, and she's saying about how her match that's going to be coming up at Sacrifice against Cora Jade from NXT, that basically she's going to expose Cora Jade because she's always just been in matches, she's never been in a fight. But Cora Jade then comes out as well and says that she's going to expose Masha Slamovich for basically not being a big enough star, and she says that she's going to be the first WWE superstar to win the TNA Knockouts World Championship. And then, out of nowhere, Tessa Bloody Blanchard, she comes up and she attacks Masha Slamovich from behind. Now, nobody likes Tessa Blanchard now. Nobody does. But yeah, she attacks her. Cora Jade comes in to help her as well. And now I'm gonna absolutely butcher this, but Lei Yin Lee, bully me in the comments, I know I've got that wrong. She comes out then and helps Masha and kicks both the heels out, and that's where that segment ends there. Just a little quick update then on the whole Ali part as well with Santana. He's informed that Santana's test has come back negative, and Ali says that they need to basically work out some way to get another drug test so that Santana is basically fired. He then takes a swig of his coffee that was just given to him, and you can see him do the whole, you know, the sour face that he made was priceless. He then says that he basically wants to be alone, and he looks like he's going to run off and be sick. Next then is our main event, and it's for the TNA World Tag Team Championships, and it's the Hardys versus the Colognes. Everybody knows the Colognes then from WWE back in the day, Epico and Primo and Los Matadores, and everybody knows the Hardys. Basically, this was just a really quick match to end things. I don't even think it went for 5 minutes, but this was essentially just a quick match just to try and enforce something for Sacrifice. This went really fast. The Hardys got a few of their best moves in. The Colognes got a good couple of moves in, but there was nothing really to speak about here. The 6-man tag team match, for match quality, I think should have been in the main event. The one that with Northern Armory versus the Rascals and Ace Austin, that should have been the main event if you ask me, just for the match. But there's a reason why this went on last, and The Hardys ended up winning by disqualification because the system came out to help the Clones and attack the Hardy Boys. Santino Marella then takes the stage and says that he's had enough and that law and order needs to be put back down. This needs to be a safe work environment, and the 10-man tag team match at Sacrifice, for the first time in a couple of years in TNA, is going to be held inside a steel cage, which, I'm not going to lie, 10 men, 1 steel cage, I'm looking forward to it. Right, so that was the show. So just quickly run it down for you. The results of the show were Elijah defeating Brian Myers, Savannah Evans defeated Zaya Brookside, Mike Santana defeated John Schuyler, AJ Francis defeated Steve Macklin, Northern Armory defeated the Rascals and Ace Austin, and the Hardys defended their TNA World Tag Team Championships via disqualification against the Clones. Now, it was a pretty decent show. I was hooked the entire way through. There was something, I'm going to learn more and more about TNA now that it's changed since the years past that I've watched it. But I'm very excited to see where these storylines go. I'm very much looking forward to Roadblock next week, and I am definitely then looking forward to the Go Home episode of TNA next Thursday, followed by Sacrifice then on Friday, which I will be reviewing on the channel, so stay tuned.